Welcome back. Here we are, the Spirit of Watercolor with Linda again. Really glad you're returning to my videos. We just finished the demonstration on Zoltan Szabo's slanted brushes. Let me grab one of those. I have like 3 sizes, a 2-inch, 1-inch, and half, so if you haven't seen that video, but watching how we get fresh, soft, luminous watercolors with these from Zoltan Szabo's book, 70 Favorite Watercolor Techniques book, please do watch that. And then this video is going to be about the palette knives. We've got that slanted palette knife you've seen in oil painting as well as this one, right? They do different things in oils. We're going to use them in watercolor today, and I'm very excited about that because I haven't done this in years. Kind of got away from these things, but they really did influence that idea of fresh, you know, luminous, intense color, beautiful soft washes that he did. He used these those brushes he designed, and this I know that I had never seen before in watercolor before him. So, and he was an artist in the 80s. Watch that video if you haven't, about my inspiration of him many years ago. After I got out of college, I was trying to continue painting, and you always need those new inspirations, right, of people that do work that you love. And you know, he was a wonderful teacher, and really influenced me to continue on with my watercolor for years, of which I sold and painted and kept going. And I want to share this with you now. So let's go to the table. We're going to do a small sketch and play with these palette knives and see what they do. Do some mountains and some rocks, and maybe try some other things, maybe trees. I don't know, maybe the water with the sharp edge of the knives. Okay, so I'm so glad you're here, and let's continue forward to the table. Okay, so this is a small 9x12 piece of Strathmore paper, and I'm trying to get my lighting good for y'all. And it's small, as you can see my hand versus these small sketches that I've done before with wet on wets and brush technique, but this time we're going to do the knife, and we're going to basically take our palette here, and I'll zoom for a sec, and we'll take and put a lot of paint here, but we're going to, instead of using our brushes, we're going to, you know, take this paint and we're going to use it basically as a non-brush technique. Now, we've done other non-brush techniques, as you recall, when we have our, remember, I have that round wooden like platter, and I've got all kinds of non-brush things on there, such as the masking fluid, and here it is, and the salt, saran wrap, and all those things are on the wooden board there. And there's special paints and inks and things that I use that are, you know, non-brush. And this, I guess, would qualify because it's using these palette knives like a brush, but you're not. And it does different things than our typical brushes do, okay? I'm going to pull with my brush, though, and I have my handy-dandy blotter that we made in a video about making a brush blotter out of our TP and our paper towel. But anyway, we're going to pull some paint out, and I'm going to pull some of these browns out, because what I really think we'll start with is creating some like softer mountains in the background with the knife. And then I'm beginning to remember from looking at his book that we had boy, this paint got dry. I haven't painted in a few days. A lot going on with other life things happening. Life gets busy sometimes, and sometimes you can't do anything about it. And then sometimes when I get out of my work, I struggle a little bit to get back into it. That's why it's best to do a little bit every day. I'm pulling out some of the Payne's Gray as well here, and I feel like I need more color. I might actually try a little wet on wet palette knife with trees just because I want to see what that would do as well. So we'll pull some greens out. We can also mix, if we take the green and we say mix it with the reddish orangey browns that I have, which is basically, this is quinacridone deep gold. And it's a brown, but it's an orangey brown, rusty brown, and that'll mix nice, and you could make blacks or darks with it. We can also, so anyway, we're going to experiment on this small sketch pad. I will bring that up a little bit larger so that you can see it a little better, and hopefully my lights will, oops, that was trying to enlarge because, oh, that's interesting, I can enlarge it to what I want. Oh, that's really cool. I never knew that before on my phone. Awesome. So let's get that kind of mostly into the, these phones are amazing, aren't they? No, well, let's leave it. And then let's get our knife out. Now I'm not sure, this is looking kind of wet. I want it to be pretty thick paint. Another thing that's been going on, because it's August, is we're getting a lot of little bugs and gnats getting in our door. We do not have a screen door. And boy, I kind of wish we did. Okay, this is going to be, I suppose this is fine. I'm going to try to get more color out as I get from the background. Oh, I also need to tilt my board. I always want to do that. Oh, there's my magnifier. Okay, now let's tilt the board. I take these yogurt cups oftentimes that they'll take this up to 30 degrees. I like the gravity to, you know, keep this board going down. And then we're going to, and this is my ground, it's heavy, so I've got it holding this pad open. It's just a sketch pad, which I want to play with first with you, and then we'll go from there to the another piece of paper if we have time. I don't want this to take too long. I forgot to mention, this is one kind of palette knife that I have. And then it's a large one, and it's got a certain shape to it. But notice this one has more of a triangular shape, you know, at the top. One is sort of just a slanted. And you can do lines with this. You can go like this and, you know, get the paint on here and go like this on there. Now this one will do a little bit different things. I can do actually scraping down this way. Say I wanted to make buildings or maybe trees, you know, if it's wet on wet. So we're going to play a little with those. I just like to tell you what I'm going to try to do here. And I've never actually put, not in years, this palette. And now the one thing I noticed with Cheap Joe from Cheap Joe's Art Stuff, I took a peek at him. He has tips, and he had tips on this as well. And apparently he put some Velcro on the back to create more texture. And I'm not going to try that today. I might need to if it doesn't do exactly what we want. But so what we always need is some kind of a before I do that, a horizon line in there at least. And so I will draw something in really quickly. By the way, I always keep all my supplies just right out here where I can reach them. You know, pencils are on the table and everything. Let's just make a horizon line. It's just not in the perfect middle, and maybe it is going to be in the perfect middle. I'm not sure yet. Let's see. I'm drawing pencil lines that I don't need. Okay. All right. Oops. A little further over would be good here. Okay. I'm not too worried about that. Okay. And we're just going to practice. Okay. It actually looks like it's in the middle, which we didn't want. Oh well, that's okay. And then we're just going to see if we can do a little bit of, say, mountainous shapes up here. You know, just seeing what this palette knife is going to do for us. It's going to definitely work differently than a brush, isn't it? And I want to make sure that's in there. You can see that I'm just getting color into it, and I'm just kind of doing these strokes and marks and trying to get this to come down in some type of mountainous formations here. Okay. Might turn out green because I'm kind of grabbing a little high there. Maybe it's just going to make it dark like I hoped. Okay. And just see if we get some interesting, ooh, yeah, some mountainous interesting shapes going there. Okay. And down here I'm going to want a little water Just going to keep bringing this down a little more. Yeah, just seeing what it'll do for me. And already I see some very lovely things going on that, again, this is spontaneous work. This is not like I sat here and planned out this exact mountain. I don't have a photograph. But that also gives me the freedom to kind of make it the way I want and not to say, oh, it's not right or wrong, which takes away some of the judgment, which I'd like to say I do that a lot with my work and often have pretty good results. And if that, then it's a sketch and you just take what you liked from it and you move into the next painting, okay? I could overdo this. I'm getting different values too as if I wet the palette like I do and then, you know, pat it into my blotter here. I can control that water, but I could drag a little bit of lighter, you know, value out from there if you notice here. So it's not all just the same value. It's like I am going to try this other, the other palette knife also and see what it does as well. I'm going to continue with this first though, because I want to just bring in some big rock shapes down here. Can you see that there? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pull in, well, I would like to add a little more of this burnt, what's it called? Burnt, no. Quinacridone Deep Gold. I used to use burnt orange. They're very similar, so I keep thinking that's what this is, but I like this a little better. It's a little less orangey, but it's still got that burnt-ish color to it, something reddish. I need to reload my palette, which I'll do on the next part of this. Okay, I'll make sure it's been reloaded. Okay, so now let's take our knife. It's pretty wet now. I should be able to get in there and get some of that color, even if I don't have enough. I'll get as much as I can there. And then we'll go back here and try and create some rocks kind of down in the foreground here. Yes, yeah. Okay, just make sounds if it helps you. I do. Yeah. And create the rocks the way we want them to come down here. I don't want them to all be the same height. I want them to vary a little up here and vary in value again. So, oops, as I was showing you before, I wanted to do a little more with the trees, so I took, firstly, I cleaned up my palette, okay, because it was getting muddy, and you want your colors as pure out of there onto the palette as possible. And then I took and brought in a brighter green, but soft in value so it stays back, it doesn't pop too far forward, just a little more lively green back there. And what I'm going to do now is just, I'm going to bring in a little bit of this, a little more of this rusty color in here and into my rocks, and bring that a little more forward on this side. Maybe just a little here just to bring this out perspectively, because the warm colors, as you remember, the warm values will bring some of this part of the mountain a little more forward. So a little more palette knife there, and then we're just gonna kind of maybe finish this up. I did put a little bit of white ground just to clean up some of my lines a little here, and then we probably will go to a larger piece of paper. This was the sketch from the slanted brushes, and this is 300 pound. It's not a painting that I'm super excited about. I may flip it over. You can always paint on the back. That's just another tip, because that's a really nice paper that I used to kind of sketch out our demo. Okay, so let's get some of that color pressed into the palette here. Okay, and you want to see it on here. Sometimes my knives look dirty, I just wanted to mention, but I think that it's all old oil paint on there. So I'm just going to kind of bring that up a little, and we're just going to kind of come in. I want to bring in a little more of this into the mountain here. Okay, just a little more dimension as I'm pressing and creating a little more value here. Okay, so I was very pleased with our fresh start at trying, our first start at trying the palette knife. And although it's kind of soft in the washes here and here, more soft than I would do on the final painting, I thought I'd stop now and we'll look at it. And then we can move on to taking what we've learned from this, and we can incorporate this technique of palette knives into our repertoire of watercolors, right? I didn't feel as much success here with the trees, although I'm not giving up on that. The other thing, as I mentioned earlier, that you can put Velcro on the back of the palette knife. Just cut it out to the size and shape of the knife and glue it on or adhere it on some way, maybe the most permanent way you can attach it better, so it won't come off when you're, putting it into the palette. Anyway, so I really like this, and I think that we'll probably do a larger painting now, where we're going to move forward with these the palette knife, the slanted brushes of Zoltan Zabos. Some of our older techniques we could add in, like sponging, say if the trees, if I'd rather have that more, I've always enjoyed how sponging works with trees. And we had one more technique we were going to use or try here. Oh, I know, we also want to try charging a wash and the back washes as well. So those are up and coming too, but those will be separate videos. But I would like to kind of put some of the techniques thus far that we've done with Zoltan Zabo and put them into a piece, kind of going off of this, also looking at, again, his book of what he's used here with the knives and the brushes, but also to bring it into a full painting. Something else I wanted to mention here. But anyway, let's do that, and we'll take what we, oh, I know, I was going to say, let's find a photograph of mountains and of some of the things in this sketch. And then we can actually compare and, this was just spontaneous, but we're going to take what is, here not as thought out, but, so you can see where you need the cools and the warm tones, where you need the light hitting, because you want that to be pretty accurate in an actual painting, right? In this, we were just playing with the knives and seeing what they do. But we want to take that further now. That's where I was going with that. I think I need to go get that book, Mountains, Rocks, and Trees, and re-buy it. They're only like $4 to $6. And I'd like to get the color by color book of his as well. And then we can kind of focus in on colors in our paintings a little more too, so that you kind of have a color theme. Doesn't mean it's all the same color, but majority of a color, say that beautiful quinacridone rose kind of is the theme of a painting with flowers, or a certain blue is the color of the skies and the oceans that, kind of becomes, the theme or a huge part of the theme of the painting. So I thank you so much for coming. Let's keep going. We're doing terrific, and I'm very pleased with this month of August studies, being inspired by Zoltan Zabo's books from quite a long time ago, but they're still as wonderful as they ever were. So join me, and I'll see you in the next video where we take some of these and pull them into a painting. Okay, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you